Live from New York, this is the Harvey Hour. My name is Nathan Harvey, and as always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. How you doing today on this Friday? Back with another episode of the Harvey Hour on a Friday. How you doing today?
I'm always happy on a Friday.
Yeah, end of the work week. We got another one of those Friday fun day topics. I'm going to give you a little hint. It's about an AFC East team. I'm not going to say who or not exactly say what, but, you know, once again, just like last week, could be a sign of things to come in the negative for this particular team. But we saw our first official preseason action when it came to football, and that came at the hands of the Patriots and the Houston Texans. So that will be our first topic of today, so let's jump right into it. So the Patriots, once again, fell in a preseason game to a team maybe inferior to them, the Houston Texans. We saw C.J. Stroud get his first action, and it wasn't that great. 2 of 4 for only 13 yards and an interception. Bailey Zappi took the start for the Patriots, went 12 of 14 for 79 yards, no touchdowns. We saw a plethora of people come in on offense, come in on defense. We saw the Texans use 3 quarterbacks, the Patriots use 3 quarterbacks. So I want to know, what was your takeaway from the first official preseason game of the 2023 NFL season?
It was a pretty boring game, I must say. I was not impressed by that game. It was the offensive lines were poor for both teams for the most part, I thought. C.J. Stroud, very underwhelming. He seemed very nervous out there. I don't think he was really ready to play. Jalen Mills picked him off. Nice play, read it well. And Davis Mills actually probably was the best quarterback out there for the game. And on either team, he came out and did a nice job. He threw for about 100 yards, moved the team up and down the field. They had some nice drives when he was in there. I liked Malik Cunningham, who was undrafted. He played wide receiver for some of the game too, and then came in at quarterback. He did the best of any of them on the Patriots side, I thought, in terms of excitement and moving the ball. He had a 14-play, 75-yard drive. He had 34 yards rushing on that drive and completed a number of passes. So he looked the best of the bunch on the Patriots side in offense, that's for sure. They had no running game at all. The offensive line was a bunch of nobodies out there who was bubblegum and baling twine put together to try to keep them on the field. And they kept showing the offensive line coach on the sidelines, who must have been pretty unhappy and pretty uncomfortable. And I would think Bill O'Brien would be too, because they really showed nothing on offense. On the defensive side of the ball, I was really impressed with Keon White, the second-round draft pick, who was all over the place. He caused a fumble. He pressured the quarterback. He had a couple of tackles. He really looked really good. I think he'll be out there when the starting unit plays or be in the rotation for sure. Jalen Mills moved back to safety. I think he's more comfortable at that position. That's his original spot, and he played very well there on the plays that he was in. That interception he had was very nice. He ran it back quite a ways. Wound up getting the Patriots in field goal position. They couldn't drive the ball there, and they kicked the field goal. Tyquan Thornton had a couple of nice catches. One 27-yard catch went up pretty high in the air to pull it down. It went on a pass. It was really not a very good pass from Zappi, but he managed to make the catch. So I think those are players that had nice games and what was what I'd say a throwaway game, quite boring.
My takeaway from this was the Patriots that we saw last year, the one that was tied for second in takeaways at 30, they were, pretty good. Jalen Mills, I feel like for the Patriots so far, he hasn't been that dynamic or tremendous player that I guess when the Patriots got him, they were hoping to get. But I want to talk about C.J. Stroud. That's the first thing. He looked extremely, extremely nervous. And I have a couple of this plays. He's missing screen passes and bad interceptions. This was the interception play. This is a what the hell are you looking at play for an interception. I mean, wasn't even open. Jalen Mills easily tipped it. This is the all-22 look. He actually has a tight end. You could see it at the very end of that play. Go wide open about the 25-yard line. So if he actually just did his first option, and that's the missed screenplay, I believe that's Singletary. Nervous, get pressured, try to lob it over, a little bit overthrown. Singletary couldn't hold on to it. But let's look at that interception again. Because if you take a look at it, look at the bottom of the screen. The tight end rolls out late. He is wide open. You're going to get a first down and probably more. And the all-22, it's a little bit more obvious. So watch. The ball gets snapped. The tight end rolls out now and about the 25-yard line, wide open. But because C.J. Stroud's a new quarterback, he's nervous. So that's what I saw. That was the first thing I saw. And you know what? When we saw Davis Mills, we saw really the difference between what a rookie feels like in the pocket and you know his first sniff of NFL action and what not even a good quarterback like Case Keenum and like Davis Mills, they came in. And as soon as Davis Mills came in, there was like a miss snap or a mishandle on a handoff maybe that almost caused a fumble recovery for the Patriots. But actually, I believe it did. But the passing was much quicker. Davis Mills was sort of lighting up the Patriots' defense. So was Case Keenum. They both had 9 completions. Davis Mills had only 12 attempts. Case Keenum had 14. So Davis Mills, Case Keenum were lighting up the Patriots' offense. Each had a touchdown apiece, over 100 passer rating. Meanwhile, C.J. Stroud had a 17 passer rating. Not good from rookie quarterback. So
it wasn't in there long enough. I know. I should have given him a few more plays. I don't know why they didn't give him a few more plays.
I think this game was just to get his feet wet a little bit, and I can understand that. But if we're talking about from a standpoint of how confident do you feel, at the current moment, I picked C.J. Stroud to go first. I didn't expect him to be this nervous, this indecisive about where to go with the ball. It was extremely slow play development, but it's a rookie, so I got to give him at least the benefit of the doubt, saying that he is a rookie, and so we're going to have to wait and see how the preseason progresses. But I want to talk about the Patriots now. The only really notable play the Patriots had, at least passing-wise, when it came to Bailey Zappi, was, I guess, a medium route pass that the announcer said was a perfectly thrown ball, a really good thrown ball, but in reality, this was the play. It was severely overthrown, and Tyquan Thornton made a hell of a catch. So this wasn't a great ball. Hell, he should have lobbed it in there, and Tyquan Thornton probably could have actually gained a little bit more yards after the catch, but that was a bad thrown ball. I mean, completely overthrown. Tyquan Thornton actually jumps a little bit early, but the ball isn't that well thrown, so I don't understand why exactly they say that was a good throw to be had, but that was my take.
It was a completion.
No, that was a completion, but that was probably the best play that passing-wise. Then Malik Cunningham had that great red zone run where he juked out the defender, and that was the Patriots' only touchdown of the day. So at least you have some excitement in that game. Otherwise, I mean, the offense looked exactly like it was last year. Boring screen passes and the occasional deep ball. I mean, it didn't look any good.
Well, they had no running game at all. They had no running game at all. Yeah. Usually you can try to use the play action to set up a decent pass, you know, so you have at least 2 seconds back there to throw the ball, but they had no running game at all. When the quarterback dropped back, the defense was pressuring him. A lot of pressure.
Actually,
and the offensive line was horrible.
Yeah, actually, both offensive lines were pretty bad. City So, I believe he's a rookie, and Connor McDermott, who I believe was on the team last year, they both did a horrible job stopping the Texans' pass rush. We're talking about the Texans, who had a terrible defense, who haven't been a great team since Deshaun Watson's last year with them. I mean, they were just tearing up a Patriots offensive line. And going into the season, we have to acknowledge that, you know, even if Mac Jones could have the perfect play call, if he can't throw it to the guy that's wide open because the offensive line's a sieve, that's going to be a problem, and that was one of the main concerns.
None of those guys that were out there last night are going to be in the starting lineup for.
I mean, based on what I saw, you better hope they're not out there in the starting lineup.
They were bad. Yeah.
I mean, the only one I have a concern about right now is actually potentially a starter was Connor McDermott, because we don't know if Riley Reif is going to be any good. We're hoping he is. And also, Trent Brown, we don't know what he's going to look like. I mean, there were huge question marks about Trent Brown going into this year. And according to Belichick, he looks a lot lighter, so that should be good at least, because he's not going to be, what is he, 6 foot, I want to say 6'7", 350, if I had to take a guess. I mean, the guy is heavy, so I think I heard somewhere he comes in at 310 or something like that. That's still pretty big, but, you know, you lose 30, 40 pounds, that's good.
Should be a little quicker.
Should be a little bit quicker, and that's going to be good to see the Patriots. Maybe, I mean, their offensive line is the big issue there.
Yeah. Who do they play next in the preseason?
Let's bring it up right now. They play in week 2 of the preseason the Green Bay Packers at 8 p.m. on August 19th. So
at
8
the
days
Packers?
from now. At Packers, yeah. And then they finish at Titans, so we'll see D-Hop maybe, at least on the sideline. Actually, depending on whether or not they play their starters in week 3 of the preseason, we could see D-Hop go up against the Patriots. And that's going to be interesting to see. Hopefully, we get to see some Ryan Tannehill in there in that last game. But what I would do if I were the Patriots, because Mac Jones was so bad, because you have a new OC, I would have played him 1 or 2 snaps. I would have played him a drive or 2 just to get his feet wet in NFL speed in this new offensive system with some of the receivers. I mean, they started. They at least had Tyquan Thornton out there. They also had Trey Nixon, who was a reserve guy. I didn't really. I mean, I'm
Trey Nixon dropped a touchdown pass.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty bad.
Malik Cunningham threw it right to him, right through his hands.
The training camp guy. What's his name? Is his name Douglas? I'm forgetting his name all of a sudden. Demario Douglas. Yeah,
he didn't play.
The superstar in training camp. He didn't even get a target in this game. I mean, at least Kayshon Boutte got it. So he got 2 targets. He caught each of his targets, had 7 yards on the day. Not really efficient, but the superstar in training camp, the one that may jump Tyquan Thornton in the roster spot, didn't even play. It seemed like didn't even get a single target, which is a little bit surprising. But then again, you had quarterbacks like Trace McSorley come in, Malik Cunningham, a wide receiver quarterback duo, I guess. I mean, Malik Cunningham may not even make the roster, and he was the most exciting part of the Patriots offense.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about the Texans here. I obviously have to see more about C.J. Stroud. I thought he may be the most, ready to be in the NFL. He doesn't have the height issue of a Bryce Young. He doesn't have the inexperience of an Anthony Richardson. I think, honestly, he may lack confidence. At least Bryce Young at his size.
He looked very nervous.
He exudes confidence. Anthony Richardson is super athletic, but he's the rawest quarterback, so he's probably going to make a lot of mistakes. C.J. Stroud, we saw him play the past 2 years with Ohio State. He was tearing it up. I think he had 85 touchdowns in his last 2 years at Ohio State. And we saw against Georgia in that ferocious defense. He looked beautiful in that game. Now, he did lose in the college football playoff, but at least he looked great. His first NFL action, he looked nervous. He looked indecisive. Yeah. He overthrew a screen pass. He had a beautiful, 10 times out of 10 in practice, he's throwing it to that tight end. And in the NFL game, he's looking deeper, I guess, not finding the perfect route to throw it to.
Yeah, well, it's a pretty small sample. We'll give him a break. And he was out there. I don't know if they had their starters. I think they played more of their starters. The Patriots didn't really play any of theirs, so.
I guess Devin Singletary is probably the only starter maybe that they would play. Tank Dell, though, I think I talked about him during our draft process when we did our mock draft. Tank Dell, he was good. I thought he would be an interesting piece to look at wide receiver-wise. I mean, if we're talking about, making very early predictions on who's going to be good this year, I think Tank Dell is going to be one of the rising stars in the league. I mean, coming into the draft, we heard a lot about Tank Dell. I mean, we saw, there goes a light. We saw going into the draft how good he looked, and lo and behold, he looked pretty good. So, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see exactly what happens this season with the Houston Texans and the Patriots, but offensively, the Patriots did not look that good. C.J. Stroud looked nervous, so we'll have to wait and see when the season starts. All right, let's get into our next topic here. So, we should have talked about this probably on Monday, but Ron Rivera had some questionable comments because he was asked about, how Bieniemy's intensity is during training camp because some of the players were actually having a problem with his intensity, and former Chief LaShawn McCoy, who actually worked with Bieniemy when he was on the Chiefs, had a comment to say about Bieniemy's coaching style and why he may not get, or why he didn't get a head coaching job, and this is what he had to say.
I was part of that Kansas City Chiefs championship team.
Yeah.
It was terrible. That one of the first things I noticed is how he talks to the players. It's like you can't talk to these players. And if you notice all the players he has issues with, fights with, arguments with on the sideline, and if you notice when the players speak of Eric Bieniemy, they say he's a really, really good coach. He's disciplined. He cares. He has your back. They don't say nothing about how he's teaching them, how he's making them better. And you never would see that because he didn't do a lot of that. When I was with him, I didn't see a lot of that. So I just think that when Rivera talked about the players that are coming up to talk to him, these ain't third-string guys. These ain't second-string guys. These are starters. Like, hey, coach, I'm all down for the tough coaching, but when you start ripping players and cussing them out and cursing them out, you now get the best out of them. And I think he doesn't realize that times have changed.
I mean, some strong words from, a former player that, he used to coach you, and you're saying that about him, but I think that is true. And now Rivera actually backtracked what he said, and, he said that, people have to understand where he's coming from and how he's trying to make you better. But, I just want to know, do you have any issue with Ron Rivera, revealing to the media what players feel like about the brand new offensive coordinator to your team, Eric Bieniemy?
Well, he made a comment that kind of dissed the players, right? He said the players are soft.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because they were complaining about Bieniemy giving him a hard time. And Bieniemy came in and said, we have to learn to be comfortable when you're uncomfortable. And I like that. I like that comment. I mean, he's bringing change, and the Commanders need it because their offense has been ranked the 20th or worse every year since 2017. So they need a change. And Bieniemy was the offensive coordinator in the Chiefs system. He won 2 Super Bowls with them. So I think he comes in with a lot of credibility, and I think the players ought to listen to him carefully and follow what his recommendations are. That would be my thought.
I'll say this about Shady and because Shady has talked about this in the past about Bieniemy, and he acknowledges on the Chiefs it wasn't Bieniemy calling these plays. It was Andy Reid who was calling these plays. And so a player like that who was on the team which Bieniemy was the OC of, him saying this, he's behind the scenes, he's dealing with this offense, and him saying that, I think that honestly takes a hit to what Bieniemy may have become if, he was given a head coaching opportunity. Here's where I can understand why, Bieniemy may get criticism with his coaching style. We've seen players and coaches have a hard coaching style. Bill Belichick has a very, very strict coaching style. When you come to the Patriots, your personality, it goes out the door. It's all about the Patriots and the Patriots only. It ain't about a certain individual. Even Gronk. He was Gronk outside of the facility. When he came to the Patriots, he was, head down, let's play some football. Tom Brady, we know what he was. Patriots, head down, play football. And then when he went to the Bucs, it was much more relaxed and chill. Then he created a social media persona, opened up a bunch of his businesses. He has crypto. He has his own Brady brand. That was what the Patriots were. Head down, play some football. And that's honestly what a lot of hard coaches do. But where you actually follow through with this, where you start believing in it, is if it actually shows success. Belichick now, players aren't respecting him or believing in his system a lot anymore because where has the successes come from without Brady? Bieniemy, when a former player that he used to coach says, oh yeah, it wasn't actually him calling the plays, it was Andy Reid. And Bieniemy himself hasn't seen success yet because he's a brand new OC on a brand new team and hasn't been given that opportunity, or I guess he's been given a chance. He's done a bunch of interviews, but hasn't actually gotten a head coaching job. People are like, okay, where's your success coming from? If a former player of yours is saying that it was the head coach, not you, and you're trying to coach us hard, show me some success. And also, I just find this very, very, ironic how already we haven't even taken a snap at the 2023 season yet. And the Commanders are already dealing with some internal turmoil. I guess that's just a common theme now. Also, Ron Rivera also said, Jack Del Rio, who's a former head coach, he said, this was his quote, I think Jack has a tendency to try to figure out guys a little bit more as opposed to, hey, this is it, this is the way it's going to be, that type of stuff. And Eric, meaning Eric Bieniemy, hasn't had that experience yet. So he even sort of took a jab at Bieniemy saying, hey, Jack Del Rio knows how to, how to get with players.
I think Ron Rivera should have kept his mouth shut there. I think he realizes, he said, I basically told him I put my foot in my mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he did. He did in a big way. The camp is really young. They haven't really gotten into it too much yet. Everyone's just getting started. I think you give it a little time to unfold and see what it's going to be like before you start critiquing people.
Yeah, I completely agree. But, the reality is the Commanders this season, they're probably not going to be a good team. And so you're trying to build up a chemistry. You're trying to get something going. And I think, taking a shot at your own players, calling them soft, and then also saying that, Bieniemy's coaching style is hard to just, live with it, I guess. But I guess failing to acknowledge when you made this quote talking about how people come from all different types of backgrounds. Some hard coaching works on some players. Other players, you can't talk to them like that. And that's why I guess Bieniemy has to realize that, hey, you haven't had the success of a Belichick or a Brady who could criticize players, but then it works out in the end because you win games and win Super Bowls. You haven't necessarily had that type of success yet. So we're going to have to wait and see, but the Commanders already started. And by the way, I'll say this. Ron Rivera also hasn't shut the book yet on Sam Howell versus Jacoby Brissett. He's saying Brissett still could get the starting job.
Well,
so now you're creating a QB controversy, a coaching controversy, and taking a shot at your players. Yeah. Not a great start to the season so far.
I would say if they think that Jacoby Brissett's going to be their starting quarterback, then I can see why Eric Bieniemy is screaming and yelling at the players.
I mean,
because
Jacoby
Brissett is not going to. They're going to be down in the bottom of the offense rankings again. I think they should give Howell a chance. I think Howell should get the chance.
You would take Howell over Brissett right now?
Yes, right now. I would.
I don't know about
I
that.
would. Brissett has had his opportunities in the NFL.
Yes.
And he's underwhelmed. He's been underwhelming. And Sam Howell really is new on the scenes. He's only been around for, this is his second year now, right?
Oh, yeah. This is
he got a few games to play last year, and now I'd put him in there. I think that would be my choice.
I wouldn't say Brissett has been bad. I mean, last season with all the stuff surrounding Cleveland, he goes in there, beats the Bucs. I mean, provides while it's not true stability. He went 4-7 with 64% completion percentage, 2,600 yards, which I don't love. That's not great. But he had a 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio, 12-6. That's not terrible. He had an 88.9 passer rating. That's not horrible. Is that good? No, it's not good. But it's not like dirt poor.
Yeah, he doesn't come up much big in the clutch.
No, of course not. I mean, he
turns the ball over. When he was with the Colts, he started out pretty good, and then he kind of fell apart. He did not play well for them down the stretch, and they didn't keep him very long.
I will say this. There were two moments where last season, 2 of his 4 wins, which you could define as clutch. One of which isn't clutch. It was BS, and that's the first week of the season against Carolina. There was a roughing the passer call that wasn't roughing the passer, and then he actually illegally spiked the ball. Where it was a snap, he turned, then realized, oh, this ain't a handoff, this is a spike, spiked it. There was a flag call because it should have been intentional grounding. The ref picked it up. That was a missed call, and that's when Baker, that streak of Baker failing began. Cade York kicked, I think it was a 56, 58-yard field goal, and that's how that season started off for the Browns and for the Panthers. And then against the Bucs, he ended up beating the Bucs, I believe, on an overtime touchdown to, I think, David Njoku. So there were 2 moments where you could say that Brissett had his really good moment. The first one shouldn't have been. The second one was good. He beat Brady, outdueled Brady, and we all know how the Bucs season and Brady looked last year. It was not that pretty. However, a win is a win is a win. So if I'm saying Brissett or Howell, give Howell a chance. But if he's bad,
well, yeah. I mean, if he falls on his face, then sure, Brissett probably will wind up in there. But I don't think that if you're trying to build an offense for the future, I think you should try to give Howell a chance. He's a young quarterback. He was drafted high. He had a good college career, and I think he should give him a hard look.
I think that's fair, but I don't know. Once again, I find it ironic. Already, the Commanders are projected to be bad, and now there's internal turmoil, and they're trying to regather the pieces and build back this puzzle. You're taking the head coach taking a shot at everybody. His players that he's coaching, the coaches that are coaching the players.
I don't know what he's thinking about. I think he is the head coach. Come on, you got to. You don't want to create a lot of controversy when you haven't even played a preseason game yet.
Yeah, so we'll have to wait and see. I think we both agree the Commanders probably aren't going to be very good this season. But of course, there could be shocks around the world. We saw Taylor Heineke beat out the Eagles last year, the undefeated Eagles at that point. So we'll have to wait and see how good the Commanders are this year. All right, let's get into, I guess, a sponsor of this episode of the Harvey Hour. So I've talked about this before. So NordVPN. In a world where online privacy matters more than ever, NordVPN has your back. With its military-grade encryption and lightning-fast servers, you could surf, shop, and stream without a worry. But it's not just about privacy. It's also about freedom. NordVPN allows you to connect to any one of their 5,000 servers across 60 countries. Whether you're a worldwide traveler, a content creator, or just someone who values their digital space, NordVPN is a must-have tool in your online arsenal. And guess what? NordVPN has an exclusive offer just for you, my viewers. With its top-of-the-line military-grade encryption, safety and security is a priority for Nord, and that's why they're offering up to 63% off right now with the link down below. So why wait? Don't compromise your online safety and freedom. Join the millions of people, including myself, who trust NordVPN and experience the internet the way it's meant to be, safe and open. The Harvey Hour will be back right after this.
You have a lot to say. Maybe you've thought, I should start a podcast. Meet Anchor, the easiest way to make a podcast ever. It's a powerful mobile app and web tool that lets you record a podcast anywhere and distribute it everywhere. It's great whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out. And it's 100% free. You can record your show straight into Anchor on your phone, iPad, or the web, using any mic you want. Record alone or with friends or co-hosts anywhere in the world. You can add background music and transitions, and your listeners can send you voice messages that you can incorporate right into your next episode. If you want to produce your show using another app, you can upload your own audio directly from web or mobile, and still take advantage of Anchor's totally free podcast hosting. Once your podcast is ready to publish, Anchor can automatically distribute it to every major podcast platform. That includes Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify, so your listeners can hear your show wherever they want. And on the web, you can see detailed analytics about how people are listening. Plus, you'll get a great-looking profile page where anyone can listen to your podcast or subscribe to it. And if you want to ask your audience to support your work, Anchor makes it easy to collect monthly payments from the people who love your podcast and want to see it grow. You really don't need a recording studio, expensive equipment, or a bunch of technical knowledge to deal with a podcast feed. Just get started and join the diverse community of podcasters already on Anchor. We can't wait to hear your podcast.
Introducing video podcasts on Spotify.
Transform your storytelling into a show everyone can watch
Or listen to.
Easily upload your video through Anchor, Spotify's free podcast creation tool.
So whether you're showing off a new recipe
Interviewing an exclusive guest,
or uncovering the next mystery,
you can now reach a whole new audience with Spotify.
podcasting just became more than audio.
Create with Anchor, watch on Spotify.
Welcome back to the Harvey Hour. My name is Nathan Harvey, and as always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. Let's get into our next topic of today's show. So it seems like the problem we thought with the Jets that will come to fruition this season has already begun in a joint practice with the Carolina Panthers earlier this week when center for the New York Jets
I was part of that.
said, let's bring up the quote. Here we go. The quote. He goes, "I sense frustration from everybody on the O-line, Aaron Rodgers, and the coaches. You can't go 3 and out in a 2-minute drive like that. I think there was more disappointment from the whole team." So we thought the O-line would be an issue, and even in a joint practice against the Carolina Panthers, it seemingly is already an issue. So I want to know, could this be a sign of things to come for Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets?
Well, Dwayne Brown has not played yet, right? He's probably one of their better linemen. He had a shoulder injury last year and is still recovering from that. So he hasn't gotten in there yet. I think once he's a veteran, once he gets in there, that will help their line. And also, Mekhi Becton, he's not really played much at all yet either, and they're bringing him back slow because he's had those knee injuries. So those two guys could make a big difference on the offensive line. The two guys that they're rotating around there, Mitchell and another guy, I can't remember his
Was it Billy Turner?
Yeah, they've been inconsistent, and they're waiting for one of them to play well at one of those positions that they're moving them back and forth from left and right tackle. So I think that it's a fluid situation, and they're trying to figure out what's best, and they don't have all of their resources out there on the field on the offensive line. So I think it's a work in progress, and it's a little early to judge. I can understand why they're frustrated because they all think they're going to the Super Bowl this year. So I guess they feel like they need to go right up and down the field on every drive. But in there against the Panthers, it did look pretty bad. There would have been 3 sacks if Rodgers wasn't wearing the red shirt. And there were 5 in the time he did have time to back in the pocket, there were 5 holding penalties. So I think there were only 13 plays. So on 8 of them, they played terrible. So Yeah, it was not good. It was not pretty. I can understand why they're frustrated.
I mean, truthfully, if you told me, are the Jets going to be screwed because of their offensive line this year? Yeah, I would say that. Now, you brought up a good point. First of all, Mekhi Becton was supposed to be their amazing choice at the tackle position. And if you take a look at their offensive line, the guards are not really the issue. The interior of the offensive line is not the issue. Laken Tomlinson is a perfectly fine guard. Elijah Vera Tucker is probably their best offensive lineman. And then Connor McGovern is not a bad center whatsoever. It's the question of, the tackles on the outside are the issue. Max Mitchell is taking over the right tackle job. That's supposed to be where Mekhi Becton is moving because Dwayne Brown is supposed to be your left tackle. Now, if Mekhi Becton, I talked about this during the preseason, he was supposed to take 20 to 25 snaps, and he took 7. Now, it isn't the fact of, he was injured or the fact that he was on that snap restriction, because 25 snaps was his snap restriction. It was the fact that he took himself out. My guess would be because at least he said in the interview, in the post-game interview, he took himself out because he didn't feel like the turf was in perfect conditions for people of his size. His quote, not mine. So he wasn't even confident in himself with his legs underneath him with the prior injury that he's 100% healthy to play in not perfect conditions. Now, I think that's a major problem when you have a quarterback that's probably, 40 years old, turning 40 years old. He's now moving towards more of a pocket passer. He's not exactly wanting to roll out and not exactly wanting to rush around. So the main problem A, was your offensive line. And if your offensive line is already showing, danger with a team like the Panthers, imagine what it's going to look like against these teams. You start off the year with the Bills, the Cowboys, the Patriots, and the Chiefs, and the Broncos and the Eagles. The first 6 weeks, the Broncos are probably the outlier here, but the first 6 weeks, if
the Patriots played last night, I don't know. There could be easy bait too.
They didn't have Barmore out there. They didn't have Judon out there. So the interior defensive line is an issue. But let's say the Chiefs have Chris Jones. I think the Broncos, at least passing-wise, they have a good defense. I mean, the first 6 weeks, the interior defense each of these teams is very, very good. The Eagles were going for the sack record last season. The Patriots, they keep getting better and better. They had 30, They were second in takeaways with 30 last season. The Cowboys, we all know the Cowboys' strength is their defense. And the Bills, with Von Miller coming back healthy, hopefully, at least soon, they should be great. They should be great this season. So right now, you play 6 teams, and even the Giants have a pretty good interior defensive line with Dexter Lawrence, with Williams, and even the Chargers have a good D line with Bosa and with Khalil Mack. So they're dealing with a lot of great, even Max Crosby with the Raiders, and then you have Bradley Chubb in Week 12. So you potentially have 12 weeks where you're playing pretty good interior defenses. So can the Jets, with a 40-year-old quarterback, can they figure it out? And Robert Saleh said, I believe today or yesterday, that they're still trying to figure out what's their best 5-man squad in the offensive line. We're about to start, full-speed football here. You don't really have a lot of time to figure out who your best 5 offensive linemen are. So I think Robert Saleh and this Jets team need to figure it out because, once again, a 40-year-old quarterback who's moving more towards pocket passing. There's a lot of issues that could present themselves for the Jets if they don't get this right. Vajrona, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I agree with most of what you said. I already made quite a few comments about it, but I think one thing you touched on here is Robert Saleh saying we haven't quite figured it out yet. Well, he's not an offensive coach.
Right.
He's a defensive guy. So I do think I mentioned this earlier when we talked about the Jets and whether they're headed to the Super Bowl or not. The coaching is an issue, right? It's solid. They made a bunch of mistakes last year. He had a bunch of issues with managing the clock, some of the plays they called. So this is an example of perhaps him not having the expertise to help put that offensive line together in a way that would make it solid and supportive for a Hall of Fame quarterback like Aaron Rodgers.
I'll also say this. While, yes, I agree with you, the head coach could be an issue come playoff time because I think we can both agree the Jets are probably going to make the playoffs.
They got to make the playoffs first.
I'll say this. Why isn't also the quarterback another issue there? Rodgers in the playoffs the past couple of years has not been good. Hell, he's been pretty bad. He lost to Jimmy G, who people hate. He's a tier 4 quarterback to a lot of rankings. So if you're losing to tier 4 quarterbacks in the playoffs, when you have Devontae Adams, when at the time you had a 1-2 punch combo of A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones, when you had a better offensive line than the Jets do right now, and now you're aging another year coming off a bad season, why can't we say that maybe the quarterback's also an issue come playoff time? I think that should be a fair argument to make. Well, yes, I completely agree. The head coach is not an offensive coach. Defensive coaches in this era of football are not the greatest. We saw Belichick took a massive hit without Brady. We're seeing Mike Tomlin. When's Mike Tomlin made the playoffs and been successful? It's been a while. Pete Carroll, when have we seen him have long-term playoff success and a greatly developed offense? The offensive line issue, running game's an issue. Is Geno Smith going to repeat this year what he had last season? We're not entirely sure. We're seeing offensive coaches like Nick Sirianni, like Zach Taylor, like Kyle Shanahan, like Andy Reid. Those are the coaches that have massive success. I think the only outlier here with defensive coaches is Sean McDermott. But that's because they have Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs who are lighting up the NFL right now. At least mainly. They're kind of getting overshadowed by Mahomes and Burrow in the AFC. But we're talking about defensive coaches like that who, don't exactly have the type of success that they do in this modern day NFL. And so Robert Saleh, yeah, we could see an issue there where he's a defensive coach. He's not exactly specialized in offense. And you have a quarterback who in the playoffs the past, decade or so has come up actually really, really small in the playoffs. So I think while coaching is a major issue, that helm of your offense, that quarterback, I think that's another issue right there. But once again, he was just a back-to-back MVP. 4 MVPs going for his 5th. He has arguably better weapons than he had last year with Garrett Wilson and McCole Hardman. Alan
it won't be
Lazard
any good
back.
if the offensive line is no good.
That's also true.
That's just as important. That's probably as important as having the good skill players, right?
Yeah, I agree.
There's no hole to run through. You're not going to get very far on the ground. That's for sure.
True. And then you're going to have to leave
and
Aaron
you can't pass if you're pressured on every play.
Right.
They could have sacked him 3 times if he didn't have the red shirt on in the practice against the Panthers. I don't think the Panthers are world beaters on defense, right?
They have a good defense, but not something that should be going through a team like the Jets, who are supposedly, like you said, people are saying they're going to make the Super Bowl and maybe even win it. Because I think, honestly, the AFC is probably going to dominate the Super Bowls for the next couple of years. The NFC is largely inferior. The Eagles went on this massive run, but then came up massively small, at least on defense. Their defense, once again, like I said earlier in the show, was going for the sack record this past season. And they couldn't stop the Chiefs they couldn't stop the Chiefs at all. So, we're going to have to wait and see. But this Jets offensive line being frustrated towards the beginning, and Robert Saleh saying, we don't even know what our best 5 offensive linemen are. I think, honestly, to answer the question, yeah, I think that this could be a sign for things to come, especially with a 40-year-old pocket-passing now quarterback. But, of course, we have to wait and see. All right, let's get into our next topic. So, tonight, we're going to see whether or not Jordan Love looks at least half decent in his second official starting spot with the Green Bay Packers. The only other start was when Rodgers had COVID against the Chiefs, and it didn't look too good. It did not look good, really, at all. The last time we saw, at least a medium length of passing was against the Eagles when he came in. Rodgers was dealing with an injury. He threw it with 6 of 9, I think, for 113 yards and a touchdown. So we saw some promise here. And I really don't believe the Packers would have gotten off Aaron Rodgers like they did if they didn't think Jordan Love at least had something, or at least can mimic something that Rodgers did last season when they went 8-9 and missed the playoffs. So I want to know, what are your expectations for Jordan Love, not only for the preseason, but also just for the season in totality?
Well, I think it's going to be tough for him initially because he's got his 6 wide receivers, 4 of them are rookies, and the other 2 are only second-year players. So I think that there's no real experience in the receiving corps, and here he is coming in. This is his first year as a starter. So I think that part of it is going to be very challenging for him. And I don't know how these rookies, whether they're highly ranked or they're considered to be, up-and-coming stars. How can you know when they're a rookie? So I think that's going to be really challenging. And he hasn't had really much experience. And when he did play, he played spotty. It was not, I would say, the one game I saw, it wasn't last year. It was maybe the year before. It might have even been 2 years. He's been around, right? This is his fourth year?
Yeah, this is going to his 4th year, yeah.
4th year. He was poor. He had a very, very difficult time out there. So I don't know. I think it's
Third year.
It's
Sorry.
his third year.
Third year.
Okay, so I think the jury is out. It's hard to know what you're going to get with Jordan Love. It could be a long season for the Packers.
And I think, honestly, I'm not as down on the Packers as probably many people are. Do I expect them to win the NFC North? No. Do I expect them to be third in the NFC North and at least beat out the Bears? Yes, I do. Because I think if you're looking at it, who has the better running backs? The Packers, between the Bears. Who has the better offensive line between the two? The Packers. Who has the better wide receiver weapons? That's where you can get into an argument. Who's better, DJ Moore or Christian Watson? I would say DJ Moore. But down the line, Romeo Doubs ain't great. You lost Alan Lazard, so it's probably going to be the Bears leading you in the wide receiver corps department.
That's not saying much, I must say. The Bears' wide receivers have been terrible.
That's fair, but the acquisition of DJ Moore is good.
That's good.
I will say this: quarterback, the jury is still out, but right now it's leaning towards Justin Fields because we've at least seen Justin Fields operate at some level, and especially running the ball, he's operating at a very, very high level. Now, with the offensive line, the running game, we could see a lot of just handing it off to the two backs and letting them work. That's probably the safest bet for the Green Bay Packers and letting your defense work. That's probably what...
They have a good defense.
That's probably what LaFleur is going to do, and let Jordan Love at least try to minimize the mistakes that he makes. But this is a massive year for Jordan Love. They have to figure out whether or not it was worth trading up to get Jordan Love to replace Aaron Rodgers, to make Aaron Rodgers disgruntled by moving up and drafting Jordan Love, to see if it was worth it. Because honestly, if they didn't draft Jordan Love and maybe drafted a first-round wide receiver like so many Packers fans and so many people in the NFL were like, draft a wide receiver in round 1 for the Packers, we may still see Aaron Rodgers on the Green Bay Packers to this day. But we'll never know because they decided to move up to draft Jordan Love and create that 3-year process as they've done with their 2 prior quarterbacks in Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. Now, my expectations, let's look at the schedule. It's not terrible. It's not that bad. You start off week 1 against the Bears, who, it could be Aaron Rodgers, could it be the Packers? Aaron Rodgers says he owns the Bears. Now, will that continue with the Packers, with Jordan Love at the helm? We'll have to wait and see.
I'd say that could be a win for them.
That could be a win. The Falcons. I'm told the Falcons are going to be this amazing team, and at least the top 5 fantasy pick in Bijan Robinson has been relegated to running back 3 on the depth chart. Not a good start for a guy who's supposedly a top 5 running back. The Saints with Derek Carr should be an L. The Lions have a high-flying offense, but their defense was terrible. We'll have to see whether or not they've improved on it with the picks that they made. The Raiders with Jimmy G. Jimmy G's been throwing interceptions left, right, and center all throughout training camp, so we don't know what exactly that's going to look like. You're up against the Broncos, the Vikings, the Rams. The people hate the Rams. I don't think really we have to understand. They were all hurt last year, so they're all coming back healthy. The Steelers with Kenny Pickett. Is he going to be Kenny Pick-em-off at this point? I'm not entirely sure. Chargers and the Lions again, the Chiefs, the Giants. The Bucs should be a win. Panthers, and then you wrap out, with the Vikings and the Bears.
Easy schedule, I think.
I think depending on how some of the circumstances play out, whether or not the defenses are bad, if the Lions' defense is bad and Jordan Love can minimize his mistakes and the Packers can run the ball effectively, run that clock down, those could be 2 wins right there. The Bears, are they going to be able to throw the ball? Is Justin Fields going to be pressured every single snap? We'll have to wait and see whether or not the Bears' O-line is a complete sieve. The Broncos, is Russell Wilson going to be god-awful again this year? Who knows? The Steelers, the Steelers are one of the teams.
I think the Steelers are going to be better this year.
The Steelers are probably one of the only teams where I don't feel whether or not they're going to be good or bad. Some teams, the Commanders, they feel like they're going to be a horrible team. The Bucs, they feel like they're going to be a horrible team. The Bills, the Chiefs, the Bengals, you all know those teams are going to be great. I think there are a couple teams here, and honestly, there are 3 teams in the AFC North where I'm not entirely sure. The Steelers, the Browns, and the Ravens. Because the Ravens, Lamar's come back from an injury, and he has more weapons, but I'm not entirely sure what the hell that means. Mm-hmm. Because he's actually not a great thrower of the football. Mm-hmm. Then you have the Browns. They have a over-under win share of a 9.5. What the hell does that mean? They just came off a bad season. So we don't know what they're going to be. And then the Steelers. I'm not sure exactly what to make of the Steelers.
I think the Steelers will be better. Well,
then-
why wouldn't you think they'd be better? I mean, now Kenny Pick'em-Off he's got a year under his belt. He played well.
Well, no.
He played well near the end.
No,
The first couple games were tough for him, but he played well at the end.
Well, I was going to say
They had a chance to. They wound up with a winning record.
I was going to say that's where I came up with the name Kenny Pick'em-Off is because I think his first pass may have been an interception. He had 3 interceptions on that.
Yeah, but
day.
he was much better near the end of the year.
That's what I said. Yeah, towards the end of the year, I said I can't call him Kenny Pick'em-Off anymore because I don't think he had an interception the last 2 or 3 games of the season. So I'm not entirely sure what this is going to look like. But George Pickens keeps making incredible catches in practice. He made a tremendous catch early last season. We debated on the show what's better, OBJ's or Pickens. So who knows? But then the Chargers, hopefully the Chargers are going to be okay. The Chiefs, they're obviously going to be great. The Giants with Danny Dinkendunk, who knows what they're going to look like? They should be better with more weapons. It's the same thing with the Bears. Same thing with the Steelers. So I'm not entirely sure. The Panthers, Bryce Young, I'm not entirely sure. Vikings should be a good team, and then the Bears again. What are we going to look like towards the end of the year with Justin Fields?
I would say
I'm not sure.
this schedule, given the Packers have a very good defense, right? They have a very good running game.
Right.
They have a very good offensive line. Their weakness is at quarterback and wide receiver, right? So you look at the schedule, it's pretty, I'd say it's one of the weaker ones in the NFL, right? They could be undefeated at the bye. It's possible. It's possible they could be undefeated at the bye.
I can't say they beat out the Saints. I think the Saints are. I think the
I
Saints
don't know.
are a really,
I think
really
the
good
question.
team.
It's a question there. I mean, he's got a brand new quarterback, brand new head coach.
Right.
No, it's the coach. He was there last year.
Dennis
right?
Allen was there
he's
last year.
year.
And Derek Carr's previous coach when he was on Oakland, his first year, his rookie year. But
So-
Dennis Allen ain't a good coach, though. To be fair to your point, Dennis Allen's not a good head coach.
Why he played? What's his name?
Stidham?
The Red Rifle.
Oh,
The
Andy
Red
Dalton.
Rifle. Andy Dalton instead of Jameis Winston. This is beyond me. I don't know why he would do that. So.
I mean, I think Derek Carr teaming up with Dennis Allen, Michael Thompson's.
I mean, let's say I would say
Thompson's going to be back.
the first game is a win for the Packers, probably.
Actually,
right?
Kamara's not going to be there
The
because
second game, I'll give you that the Saints probably beat them. The Lions, I think that the big question mark with them.
I agree.
They played terrible in the first part of the year last year.
Well,
and then they turned it around. The defense got a little bit better, but the defense is horrible.
Hold on, I'm going to defend the Lions. The offense was not the problem with the Lions early on.
No, I said the defense.
Well,
was.
okay, you're talking about the defense. You said the Lions were not a good team early. Okay,
They weren't. At the beginning of the season, they lost like the first 6 games, I think, did they?
But they were the highest scoring team in the NFL at that point. Outscoring teams like the Chiefs and the Ravens and the Bengals.
Well, it doesn't help you have no defense.
Well, that's what no. The defense was abysmal.
Okay, so maybe I'll give you that one too. The Lions might beat them. Then they're going to beat the Raiders, right? They'll probably beat the Broncos.
Ooh.
I'd say they probably can beat the.
I
think they split with the Vikings. So I'll give them that one. The Rams are a total question mark. Nobody knows what they're going to be like,
I
right?
have faith in the Rams.
And so I'll say maybe they lose to the Rams. Okay.
Right.
Then I think.
Kenny Pickett.
Yeah.
You said they would look good though. So
I think they'll lose to the Steelers.
Okay.
Actually, I think they'll beat the Chargers. I think they'll split with the
wait.
Lions.
Hold on.
Split with the Lions. Wait,
Hold
no,
on.
just wait. I think they'll split with the Lions. They'll lose to the Chiefs.
Time out.
I think they could beat the Giants. They're going to beat the Tampa Bay for sure. They're going to beat the Panthers, and then they'll lose to the Vikings and beat the Bears at the end. So that's 11 wins. They're in the playoffs.
That's crazy. You say they make 11 wins. That is great. Now
I think they get 10 wins anyway. They probably get 10 wins. That's a light schedule, Nate. Look at it. It's a weak schedule.
I don't know.
What
about
do
that
you go through it? What do you think they're going to be?
Okay, well, I'll say this. I agree. At the bye, they'll probably be at the very best
4-1.
Oh no! I'd say that they could beat the Falcons, and I'm gonna say just because of the defense, they'll beat the Lions. Those are the only 2 teams I'm very, very confident.
You don't think they beat the Bears the first game?
Here's the thing: Justin Fields is getting the most MVP bets in the entire, more than Mahomes,
Bears were
Herbert, and Allen
terrible
combined.
last year.
I understand. So you know
They
what?
had no
Fine,
defense
fine.
at all. That
I'll
defense
say
is
this.
terrible.
I'll say 3-2, right? I think the Broncos, they're going to double their win total. I think they're going to be a good team. The number one pass defense at one point last season, late last season. The Vikings, now I screwed up a little bit on the verse and the ads, but if this is a clip, you won't even see this. So the Rams right now, I'm saying the Rams are going to be good. I think they're going to lose to the Rams. You have a lot of faith in the Steelers. I got no idea what the Steelers are going to look like in this totality, so I'm just going to say they'll beat them. They're going to lose to the Chargers, 100%. The Lions, I'll say they split with the Lions. Chiefs loss. Giants with weapons. Daniel Jones, top 10 quarterback last year. That's what I'm being told. That's what I'm being ripped on in my comments section. So who knows? The Bucks should be a win. Panthers should be a win. The Vikings, I think they're going to get swept by the Vikings. And then the Bears, they could, I think, split. So I'm probably saying about 8 wins. That's what I'm saying. And you know what? That's all I need. That's all I need, because guess what? Jordan Love and this Packers team did the exact same thing they did with Aaron Rodgers the previous year. That's all I'm looking for. That's all the Packers should be looking for. Something to build off of. For instance, the Patriots should not be saying, let's go out and win some playoff games. They should be like, what the hell does Mac Jones look like this season with some competency?
They're not saying that. Robert Kraft is the one that's saying that.
And he's the owner. And by the way, we'll have a little bit update. I'm going to talk about this on Wednesday. Talk about Baker Mayfield. Steelers beating the Buccaneers 7-0. 7-0. So Steelers take a lead. So talk about the Steelers already, and they're beating the Bucs out right now. So, by the way, Baker Mayfield is starting in this game.
Baker Mayfield, they asked him, how's it feel to follow Tom Brady?
Right.
And he said, well, I don't play like him. I think that's the quote of the year, right?
Well, here's the thing.
No kidding, Baker. You don't play like Tom Brady. You never will either.
So here's the thing, right? We're talking about Kenny Pickett. Kenny pick him off. 6 of 10, 70 yards, 1 touchdown.
He's good.
153.8 passer rating, or no, 158.3 is the highest you can get. Yeah. He right now has a pass rating of 147.9.
Oh.
So
he's off to a very good start.
Off to a great start.
In a game that's meaningless. Against a bunch of players that probably won't make the team.
No, there are a couple here that are in, tier 2s. They're in, some rotations here, at least for the Bucs on defense. But the Steelers, they are playing starters. They're starting tight end. Freiermuth is out there. Deontay Johnson's out there. George Pickens is out there. So they're starting starters out here. So we're going to see the Packers play tonight. It should be interesting to watch exactly what this team looks like. But Baker Mayfield right now, I'm looking at it. He's 2 for 2, 10 yards.
All right.
2 for 2. I could be wrong, but
headed to the Super Bowl.
We'll have to wait and see. All right, so I hope I have this graphic up. Let's get into our now weekly Friday Fun Day topic. And like I said, I hinted at the very, very beginning of the show, an AFC East team not looking so hot. So let's actually start with this team, and hopefully I have it up. So this is the Miami Dolphins offensive line, and that's 4 would-be sacks in the span of 4 seconds for the Dolphins. And now the Dolphins offensive line, we expect, Tua's dealt with 3 head injuries and 2 concussions. He's taken, He's
got to be a little worried when, look at that. They're just rolling right in there.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think it's jiu-jitsu he practiced or taekwondo. He's learning how to fall. Well, I guarantee you, your problem isn't getting hit by people you could see. It's by the people on your left and right that's going to knock you out. It's the people that you don't see that's the big issue.
Yeah.
So if you're telling me he's learning how to fall and your offensive line looks like that, we talk about sieves and turnstiles. My God, against a defense that was severely underwhelming last year in the Miami Dolphins, Tua should be fearing for his life, and it isn't even the regular season yet. So there's my little Friday funny topic. Dolphins don't look so hot on the offensive line side. So
yeah, you got to be a little worried about that.
Yeah, I'd say so. Dolphins, they should be a good team this year, but if your offensive line looks like that, I'd be very, very worried. Also, I know you'd like this. We talked about this a couple hours ago. Chris Sale is making his comeback this season. God. You usually start the Red Sox topics, and right now, actually, the Red Sox have begun. So I want to know, do you think... I'll say this. Chances Chris Sale gets hurt before the playoffs.
I got the over on that one. I think he will.
Oh, my God. Yeah, no, it's
pretty
bad.
He's I don't know. I don't have a lot of confidence in Chris Sale.
Well, here, I'll give you a little bit of confidence. Right now,
yeah,
we're seeing what I told you about earlier today. He starts off really good, and then he fades off. Right now, 1 inning pitched, 16 total pitches, 11 of those were strikes, 2 strikeouts in the first inning.
Okay.
So he himself retired 2 out
Who
of
are
the
they
3
playing?
batters. The Detroit Tigers.
Wow.
Hey, last season the Red Sox could not beat the Tigers. We were up in
Well,
Boston last.
It's only one
last
inning
year.
so far.
Right, it is 1 inning, but I just got a notification. Red Sox up 1-0. So there you go. Good start to Chris Sale. He has a little bit of wiggle room now to give up some runs like he normally does. He has a 4.5 ERA this season. But no, this season the Red Sox have taken care of the Tigers. 1-6-3, 1-14-5, 1-4-1, and now they're winning 1-0
Well,
in
their
their
season
series.
so far is a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Right? They started out terrible, then they had a streak where they won a lot, then they lost again, then they had a beautiful July, then August was miserable until this last series against the tough Kansas City Royals, man. They managed to beat them 3 out of 4. All right, way to go, Sox. Now they're playing Detroit. They should sweep them, too. They're at Boston, right? Are they playing at home?
Boston,
Yeah.
yes.
So these are the games they got to win because the schedules are going to get a lot tougher here pretty soon. And they're still 5 games back of the last wild card spot. So a lot of work to do, for the Red Sox. And I'm not sure they've got the ability to get there.
I'll say this also. Late in the year, you're also going up against what right now is the best team in baseball in the Baltimore Orioles. It's going to be that's going to be
quite a few games against
very,
them, so.
very, very tough matchup, tough end of the season for the Red Sox.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So we'll have to wait and see. But I want to give you a little bit of confidence. They're not 5 games out of the wild card. They're 4.
Are they 4
They're
games
4
out now?
games out.
Wow.
Thanks to the Yankees keep choking to inferior teams. But you know what? That's just how the cookie crumbles, I guess. So we'll see what the Red Sox do in this game against the Tigers. But for this episode of the Harvey Hour, that will be it. I thank you all for watching this episode. We have an end screen there. Monday should be exciting. We're going to probably recap all of the weekend's football games, or most of the weekend's football games. We'll see how Jordan Love looks like. We'll talk about maybe some Baker Mayfield, see how this game turns out to be. We got probably a bunch of topics starting Monday. But, the time's approaching. I guess we should start talking about this little, we'll push it down the line. About a month from now, we'll be moving Monday's segment, or Monday's show, into Tuesday so we could recap going from all the weekend's games and Monday's games. We will all recap it on Tuesday. The show will move from Tuesday, then probably Wednesday, then Friday if I maintain that Wednesday slot. We don't know what that season's going to turn out. I may have a little bit of something in store for Wednesday's topic, some new format. I'll get into it maybe later on in the year. But just in about a month from now, when week 1 rolls around, I think we may do, I don't know, we'll have to talk about it in the post show, but I'm thinking either the week before or after, like during week 1. That's when we'll move into the Tuesday slot, and there will be no Monday show. It'll be Tuesday, probably Wednesday, and Friday. That rotation throughout the entirety of the NFL season. Also, we got NBA. We didn't talk about the NBA season throughout the NFL season, except some, I think, big topics. Actually, I don't even think we talked really much about the NBA at all. So that starts up October 24th. There's some really, really good Christmas games out they released. So we got a lot to talk about this season. Sports, we're hitting a peak of sports right now. The World Cup's and the Women's World Cup's ending. If I'm not mistaken, I started watching the Sweden versus Japan game, and we both thought Japan looked really, really, really good. I gotta admit, it didn't look so hot. Sweden ended up winning in the.
Really?
That was early. That was earlier this morning. Yeah, Sweden took the victory in the quarterfinal, so they're moving on to what is that? The final. So
Quarterfinal or semifinal?
Today was the quarterfinal, I believe.
So it's a semifinal next, right? There'll be then the final. Quarterfinal?
I thought that means four
teams,
times.
yeah.
So we'll have to wait and see. But we both thought Japan may make the final and win it. Sweden, who just beat the United States, they took care of business.
Pretty surprising. They have a very good goalie.
They do. Japan actually had fewer shots on target. So we saw it. I forgot who were they playing that we watched. Was it South Africa?
South Africa. They destroyed them.
Yeah, they just moved up and down the field on them.
There's breakaway plays, the really beautiful plays.
Yeah, so Japan took care of business, and they could not get that fast break offense that they had that they showed prior in the tournament. So right now we're gonna wait and see how exactly Sweden looks out to finish it. If you're beating out probably the best team in this tournament right now, there's probably a high likely chance that you're probably going to win it all. So Sweden takes probably the top position, at least in my eyes, to win this thing. But that does wrap up today's show. My name's Nathan Harvey. That's my dad, Stephen Harvey. We are the Harvey Hour. We will catch you guys Monday. Big show Monday. We will see you then.
Introducing video podcasts on Spotify.
Transform your storytelling into a show everyone can watch
or listen to.
Easily upload your video through Anchor, Spotify's free podcast creation tool.
So whether you're showing off a new recipe,
Interviewing an exclusive guest,
or uncovering the next mystery,
you can now reach a whole new audience with Spotify.
podcasting just became more than audio.
Create with Anchor, watch on Spotify.